Wait. Are you serious? I want to live here. This is where I want to live. I love it. Wait a second. I don't see myself. Am I a vampire? Oh, silly me, there's no glass.
No mirror.
Anyway, this is just absolutely gorgeous.
Whoa.
I know, huh? Isn't this wonderful?
Amazing.
Oh, look.
I mean, he really did great.
There's 2 Rollerbots sitting in the fireplace.
I paint them all the time.
That's pretty cool.
Oh, what do you mean you do this all the time?
Yeah, they're on the sets.
Oh, nice.
Okay. But I just can't get over this.
It looks so real, doesn't it?
I know, huh? This is absolutely beautiful.
Absolutely.
Simplistic,
Yep.
cleans, straight lines. I love it.
So do I.
Can we live here?
Well,
Please?
it's fake, but okay.
Okay.
Cool.
Well, I hear he worked on another set
He did.
over at Forest Dance Academy. Let's go check that one out.
Ooh,
I wonder how that one looks like.
all right.
Ooh, I'm excited to see that one.
Guess
Come on, let's go.
we're heading out. Okay. I guess you are pretty busy, Professor.
I am.
Well, we'll meet you over there at the academy where they're working at Forest Dance Academy.
You there?
What is that one? Adventure Bayous or something? Oh, Tiana's
Tiana's
Adventure
Bayou
Okay.
Adventures.
Bayou's Adventure. Whatever. We'll see you there.
Well, as you can see, those 2 are off to go see the next set, which I'll be showing you. This gives you an idea of where I'm working and why I can't, or I try to post everything once a week, but I'll be able to show you what I'm working on. So this is for COHI, which is an acronym for City on a Hill Youth Theater. And this performance here happened to be See You in St. Louis. By the way, these actors are all homeschooled, so this is their way of being able to perform in acting and theater, and I'm telling you, they are really good. In fact, they're about as good as any other public or private school that they would attend. And to even tell you that far, I'm utilizing some of their skills. For instance, Ben Severance. He's going to be one of my characters, and he played an excellent role in Father of the Bride as a dad. Then there's Winton Ware. He doesn't know it, but he's going to be one of my celebrities or one of my actors in this performance. And then there's Hope Martin. Now, Hope Martin is really articulate in her words and how she's working and all of that. And then finally, there's Morgan Williams. Now, Morgan is absolutely phenomenal in her acting skills, and all of these other young ones that are moving up will probably utilize them later on to boost the professionalism in Aritfax. You know, Winton Ware's brother, as a matter of fact, is on the credits. He's the one who does the demographics of where we should target and what we're doing. He's heading off to Liberty University next year and going to major in engineering. Okay, well, what we're going to be working on next is going to be colored pencils. And this is going to be the
beginning of the dry media in the visual art. Is that correct?
Exactly.
Ah, see? Yes. We're not using any water, and it's going to be a little tougher to mix, but we can do this.
Right.
Mm-hmm. We got this down really well. As you can see, we have really...
I'll tell you what, Big Red. Why don't you go ahead and tell them I'm going to zip out of here and meet up with AJ7 and AJ3.
Great. I didn't mean
You're
to
doing a
interrupt.
great job. No.
Oh.
It's okay.
Okay.
Go ahead. Have at it. And I will see you back at the studio.
Oh, thank you. As I was saying, dry media, no water. That's it. Take it away, voice man.
For more awesome content,
Coming through.
like
Wait.
and subscribe
Professor.
now.
Professor, I'm coming.
Do it
I'm
now.
coming. I got it.
Or I'll hunt you down.
What do you know?
Colored pencils and markers, paints, puffy paint. These are my pencils.
No.
Colored pencils?
Yeah.
It has been an honor serving with you. Good luck, folks.
Look at this one. It's
All right.
huge.
Baby, he's
How does he
recording.
do?
Come on, let's go, let's go. We
Let's
gotta
go. Come on.
So
We're
this
outta
is
here.
the big one, the large one, the one we did for FDA. I'm not wearing my microphone today, only because this is the last part that I'm working on. So as you can see, it takes quite a bit of work to be able to put all this stuff together, and I think you've seen that from my previous videos that I've done from past sets. So working as a professional, you have to juggle what you're doing to versus what the clients need. And sometimes in your job, working as a professional illustrator, your job doesn't go from 9 to 5. No, sometimes it can be 12, 13, 15, even 17 hours straight of work. And you have a deadline. And that deadline has to be met. That's the big thing that's going to set you apart from people who enjoy to draw versus making this a profession. The thing that I'd have to also tell you is that you have to make this a passion. This has to be something you are very, very passionate about, that you have a love for it. It goes even beyond that. That is your obsession, if you will. Having a passion is one thing, but making it an obsession, that goes even deeper. And my art is an obsession. And a lot of people will turn around and tell you, why are you so obsessed with what you do? Why are you so obsessed with your rollerbots? Why are you so obsessed with your art? Because this is what it takes. You know, I was talking to one of the young ladies. It's, I think her name is Nicole.
Yep, sorry you missed that one, Professor.
And she was supposed to go to France, chemical engineering. And when you think of chemical engineering, you think of all bad chemicals. Well, chemical engineering also deals with perfumes, which makes sense. So last year she was supposed to go to France. Well, as it turns out, she showed up again, and I said, Nicole, why are you here? I thought you were going to be in France. She goes, well, let me tell you. And she told me what had happened. They said, yeah, you can go. And then they found out, oh, but you got to finish this other class that we just at the last minute added on. And I told her, you know, it's a proven fact that those who are high caliber athletes, Olympic athletes, those who've gone to state, nationals, dancers who really push and perform like the dancers here at Forest Dance Academy will succeed in life. Why? Because we know what it takes. We have a lot of hurt and pain. This show, as a matter of fact, I dislocated my shoulder. Couldn't swim. Still not completely healed. Went to the chiropractor and he popped it back in. Oh man, did that hurt. Nevertheless, what I'm trying to say is that you have to have an obsession for what you're doing, and that's what it's going to take for you to make it in this occupation. It's not unicorns, butterflies, and rainbows. It's stuff like this that just drives you up the wall. All right, let's get back over to the studio.
Back in the studio. Okay, color pencils. Some of you may be thinking, color pencil. No biggie. What makes a good color pencil? And what makes an inferior color pencil? Well, this part we're going to talk a little bit about what makes those and what you're going to be looking for. All right, there's really several parts that go into a color pencil. It's the binder, which actually brings all the pigment together. Then there's the base, which is either wax or oil that pencil is made from. And then finally the wood, how it's made. So how do we tell the difference between the inferior and the better type of pencils? Well, an inferior pencil is going to have more binder and less pigment. So it's not going to be as bright. The binder is the one that connects that with the wax or the oil, which is the vehicle which helps distribute the color. Okay, so if you have a pencil that has less pigment, the colors aren't going to be that bright. Also, it tends to be harder. Therefore, you can't really blend those colors as you would with a higher grade pencil. Are they going to be more expensive? Absolutely, but you're paying for a better quality pencil than you would be if you were just going with a regular kid pencil, as you might say. When we get into style and technique, I'll show you the difference between the two. But right now, I just kind of want to show you how they work, and I'm going to show you the 3 top pencils that most professional illustrators and artists use. Okay, so how is the pencil constructed? Well, the wood itself also is a handle, if you will, and that's basically the texture or how it's going to strengthen that. I mean, if you have a weak wood, imagine making a color pencil with balsa wood. Soft wood, it's going to snap right away. Not that any pencil is made out of that, but the softer the wood or the inferior the wood, the less it's going to be, or the harder it is going to be able to handle and to work with. So you want to be able to look for those things. Well, how do you look for it? Well, unless you have a trained eye, you're really not going to be able to tell. So that's why you want to go with the brand, and that leads us into the next step. How many brands are there? Well, there's quite a few brands out there. There's Grand d'Arche. There's also Prismacolor pencils, which are called Prismacolor Premier. Faber-Castell, which is another pencil that has been around for 264 years, but we're going to get into that one too. Talk a little bit about that. And then there's also Fabrano, which is a watercolor pencil. There is Carvacci pencils, Prang dual pencils. Now those pencils have a dual tip on either side, which are good for traveling. There's Lyra and then Coronor. Coronor has also worked with doing a lot of technical pens. As a matter of fact, I have a set of those themselves. But there's a whole list of those in itself. And of course, the top 3 that we're going to talk about today are going to be Grand d'Arche, Prismacolor Premier, and Faber-Castell. These 3 pencils are used a lot primarily by the professionals, and they are a lot more expensive. So let's talk a little bit about each one of them. Grand d'Arche is actually made in Sweden, and it was established back in 1915. It's been around for a while. Now, in 1924, it changed its name by the head of the company at that time, Arnold Schweitzer. Now,
I'm Bach. Who has summoned me and said that I have changed the name of a pencil?
No.
Yes, I am Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's me.
No, it's Schweitzer, not Schwarzenegger.
Oh, sorry. My mistake.
Artie, dude, my man, what are you doing? We're in the middle of a concert and you just kind of pop out and then pop in here?
Are you serious? Oh. We have all these people waiting there. Dude, you just, oh, man, yeah,
Okay, let's
guys,
go over
talk
this
to him.
again.
I can't handle this. I can't handle this.
We're going to play each and every different composer. Arnie, you're Bach, not back, Bach. You got to get back over. Okay, we'll figure this out.
I agreed to play Franz Liszt. That's what I'm playing. It seems like we're listing from one place to another. First it's here, then it's there. Guys, seriously, Arnie, we got to get back. Come on, let's go.
Gentlemen,
come on.
Okay, listen, maybe I can talk to him and convince him to move back over with you guys. All right, Tavy, honey, Smokes, could you talk to him and let him know that he needs to get back to the concert so we can get back to being entertained again?
When did I come into this picture? I'm just standing here. I had no intentions of talking to him.
Okay. Oh. Listen, I have obviously upset my spherical little friends here, and I interrupted the professor. It is my fault. I'm sorry. We will get back to the concert, and we will continue playing. I'm sorry for getting you all upset.
No, you're good. You're good. Don't even think about it. No, it's all right. No.
Never, not us. Let's go.
Professor, I'm sorry. My young friends, I'm sorry. Let's go back. AJ3, AJ7, my sincerest apologies if I have upset you.
No, not at all.
Oh, you're so sweet. No, you're fine. You're fine.
Okay, let's go, boys. Moonlight Sonata, Sleepers Awake, and Symphony Number 5. Ode to Joy is waiting for us. Oh, and Professor, I am so sorry for interrupting you.
No worries. That's okay.
I'll be back.
I'm sure you will. Ooh. Thanks, guys. All right, moving along. Anyway, the name was changed. An original name was actually Fabre Genevois de Crayon. Kind of a long word, wouldn't you say? Yeah. So the name in 1924 was changed to Crayon d'Arche. What does that mean? Well, it actually means pencil in Russian, but its root name actually comes from Turkey. And the name itself means Karatrash. Karatrash in Turkish means black stone, which is referring to the graphite in the pencil. So I'll let you know what it was about. Anyway, they're probably one of the best pencils out there, and they're wax-based. They don't make an oil base on those. And I'm not going to talk much about oil-based pencils, although oil-based pencils do have a much stronger and resilient color. And they are a bit more missier too, so you have to be a little more advanced or a little more experienced with utilizing those. But for what you're going to use right now, the basic wax pencil is going to be, well, I shouldn't even say basic. The wax pencil, which is a really good pencil, will be good for working in this episode or working on this exercise. The next pencil is Faber-Castell. Faber-Castell has been around since 1761. Now, remember I told you it's about 264 years old. Now, yes, they are actually made in, their base is made in Germany. They originally started off, and the reason I'm pausing here, they originally started off working with stationery. So you'll probably find that pencil just about everywhere, and you might even find some of their products, staplers, office supplies. You might find their names here and there, but they primarily focused on now artistic pencils. The problem with this is, and you find that when a company starts to grow, they're based in Germany, but they have manufacturing companies all over the world. They have them in India, Brazil, Malaysia, Turkey. What's the problem with that? Well, the problem is this. Most likely the raw materials are going to be coming from that country. It wouldn't make sense to turn around and take the raw materials from Germany, ship them out, and then have them manufactured there. It's most likely you're going to be manufacturing that. Now, they may have a good type of quality of material. Same thing with the binder and the pigment and the wax. Now, they do make oil pencils, but are they consistent all the way through? Because they come from different countries, we don't know if they're going to be exactly the same quality of pencil that you're going to get in that box. That's the way my thinking is. Could be wrong, but that's how I'm thinking. So, although they have their standards pretty high, I tend to kind of veer away from them. Now, the pencil that I use, which is used quite a bit, is the Prismacolor Premier. Now, Prismacolor Premier started in 1938. Now, it was originally owned by Eagle Pencils. But then in 1969, it was bought, by Bristol. And then in 1995, it was bought by Newell Brands. And they are made here in the United States. That's right, the grand old flag. So this is one pencil that's pretty consistent. As you can see here, I have a black, I have the three secondary colors here, and I also have the three primary colors. Kind of gives you a little bit of history over the pencil itself and the what brand to look for. Now, the Prismacolor is probably easiest to find, and it's easy to get at your local stores, your art stores. Yeah, I believe even Hobby Lobby carries them. So they're easy to find in packs. They come in packs 6, 12, 24, 48, etc., and they go on in larger packs. Now remember, the more you're paying for those, the more pencils you're paying, the more pencils you get, the more expensive they're going to be. Whew. Okay. Slow it down. Ooh.
Okay, folks. Allow me to interject here. As you can see, the professor gets rather passionate, rather obsessed over his work, the arts. How do I put this? As he gets speaking and talking, his brain moves faster than his mouth can speak, which is why he messes up on things like saying pencils are made in Sweden rather than in, Switzerland. Or another example is when he says that the Renaissance was thousands of years ago rather than hundreds. So here's what I'm just saying. Bear with him. He's only human. He's going to make mistakes, and we'll be here to correct him if we need be. Yeah, we all make mistakes. Yeah, I should say you all make mistakes, but we're here to correct. So just bear with him. Okay, yeah, back to the show.
I get excited, as you can see, over what I'm doing. It's just exciting to work with this story. Anyway. So those are easy to buy if you're trying to find a pencil that you don't have to go online. Now, if you're going to go online and you're looking for a really high quality pencil, Grandrach is going to be the one you're going to want to buy. And it's probably the most expensive, again, made in Sweden. White cross on the back of the top of the pencil. And they have been in Switzerland the whole time.
He did it, Sean. He did it.
He did it. He actually did it.
And they scrutinize their work. They're really on top of the quality control of these pencils. I've tried them a few times, and yeah, they're really, really good. Okay, so now let's talk about the process of these. Now, if you use an inferior pencil as opposed to a more higher grade pencil, like the three that we talked about, you're going to see a difference, and you're going to feel a difference. When you're working with a more advanced pencil or higher quality, it almost has a buttery feel when you press down on that. Now, there are several different techniques you can use in color pencil. For instance, there's one artist who I will feature later on down the road when we get into techniques. She does the watercolor base, and then she does the color pencil on top of that. Excellent way to work with it. Yet you can work with all that. Now, earlier I talked about Fabrano watercolor pencils. Now, I'm not going to talk about watercolor pencils in this episode, but there are watercolor pencils that you can actually utilize in your watercolors. You can even, after you've drawn them down, take water over there and they will blend out. Really a lot of fun to work with. And when we do the watercolor techniques, I'll probably show you how to manipulate and use those. It's really a lot of fun. It'll also expand your area of working in watercolor. It doesn't necessarily mean you are cheating. And I also want to emphasize on that. I don't know where the term cheating came from in art. Many artists, Van Eyck, Rembrandt, I mean, all the masters did some tracing or another. So did Michelangelo. They did a lot of tracing. So the idea of tracing is cheating. Now, hear me out. In using a tracing, if you're going to trace and you're going to do an identical drawing to what you traced from another artist, and you're going to sell it, is plagiarism. Okay, but if you're using it for yourself, it can be a simple exercise that you're working with. Now, I also want to clarify something else too. It just kind of jolted my mind. When we did the introduction, I talked about passion and obsession. Okay. Well, as you've probably guessed, I am a committed Christian. And after I said that, I really want to clarify something. When I talk about an obsession, and for those of us out there who are fellow believers, I am not talking about making this an obsession that it goes beyond your faith in the Lord. The Lord anoints you with this talent. And what I mean by obsession, by the craft you're working with, but don't make it your idol. Now, those of you who are just watching and following, you may not understand what I'm talking about. But for those of you who are believers, you know what I'm talking about. And that's what I mean about the obsession. Take that obsession that you've been blessed with, that you've been given, the talent, and drive with it. But don't put your Lord behind that.
Thank you, my son.
And that's what I mean. So I wanted to clarify that. Okay, let's move on. I am going to start off with the 3 primary colors and the 3 secondary colors, white and black. And again, these are just going to be, they're not going to be techniques, I'm not going to be drawing, I'm just going to be showing you how to utilize things. And I have 2 types of papers here. I have a cold press illustration board, which I have here, and I also have just the drawing paper. So I'm going to basically work on both of those. Now, before we go on, I'm going to show you a little bit of samples. For instance, this here. This was also done in color pencils. And I didn't realize how long ago this was. I did a calendar for a nonprofit organization. This was the original artwork, and that is in color pencil. And as it's completed, you can see here, this is what the final calendar looked like. Yeah, way back in 1991. Wow. A long time ago. So there are different examples that I'm going to show you when we get into the technique and working on color pencils. So let's take this break here, and we're going to move on, and then I'm going to demonstrate some of this using the Prismacolor Premier color pencils and show you how all this works out. All right, let's take this break.
Photo headshots were provided by Deborha Wear of Deborha Wear Photography. If you're looking for portraits to capture that special occasion, consider Deborha Wear.
All right, well, we're back. Okay, so what we're going to work on now is going to be how color pencils work, basically. That's what we're looking at, how to handle these. As Big Red said, we're now working in the area of dry media. So we're not using any water, we're not using any terpenoid to thin out or to mix these colors. They're actually blended from one vehicle or one pigment to another directly. There's no mixing at all. And that can be rather taxing on the hands, if you will. But there is another way to utilize that, and I'm going to demonstrate that for you. Well, there's actually a couple ways to use colored pencil. You can actually use colored pencil in a light form, or you can really rub them down and then blend those colors together to make a second color, or making a third color using 2 colors. Get that right? Anyway, take a look at this example here of the color wheel. It's kind of an archaic color wheel, but you can see as I've utilized this, the colors I've used here are rubbed rather tight in the center, but as they respectively pull away from the color wheel, they start to lighten up. That's done on purpose to be able to show you the different styles and techniques you can utilize in that. You can use color pencil in a light way where it's just rubbed very lightly and then another color laid on top of that. And then the eye actually blends those colors together, and I'm going to demonstrate that for you. Here's another demonstration using the secondary colors. You can see the orange, the purple, and the green. Now, if you've noticed, you'll see, look at it closely, it kind of looks like it's black or turning dark. In actuality, I didn't use any black on these. I used the complementary colors of each of those colors. So, respectively, the green, I used the red, and that actually made it look almost a brown color. Remember, brown is not a color, it's a neutral. So, it's going to mix that. The purple you see here, well, what's the complement to purple? Yellow. So I added that yellow in there, and that started to neutralize the colors as I rubbed them down even harder. So you can see, using all of these here, using the complementary colors, I start to darken those colors. Now, you can do that and create those colors, but if you have a vast array of colors in color pencils, you can utilize this to push and bend those colors, and you don't have to rub down so hard. You can direct that color to kind of neutralize it using these color pencils. But you have to have a bigger array of colors. And as I said earlier, the more pencils you buy, the more expensive it's going to be. I've just got to get this off of my chest. I just realized this. Before we got here, Big Red made an introduction about my tripping on words and so forth. I do. I get excited. But what's good is that these characters correct me, and they know when I made a mistake. If you go back a couple of episodes, I think I talked about the Renaissance, and they brought that up. I meant to say hundreds of years, and I said thousands of years about the Renaissance. And it's the same thing I do with the pencils. I said they were from Sweden. They're from Switzerland. So if there's a miscorrection, if I say something wrong or I jump ahead of myself, I'll correct that. It's just the way I am. I get excited and I have to slow myself down. As Big Red says, my brain starts going faster than what I want to say. Anyway, I wanted to clarify that and just let you know that, even those people who are professors make mistakes. Okay. All right. So anyhow, as I have here on the color wheel and on the color band that I made here, this was a sample I used in one of my classes when we were starting to use introductions about color pencils and how to use them. There's different styles and techniques you can use, and that goes with all the mediums we have gone with. Our next season, we're coming up to a closing on this season. Our next season is we're going to start working on techniques. This starts to get really fun because now I'm going to start showing you different ways to paint and how to just let yourself roll and go with this. So when we take that break, I would strongly suggest that you go over as a review all of these episodes here in color theory. Go over your color theory, go over what we've talked about, the complementary colors, everything you've done, practice utilizing those. Because what's going to happen is we're going to get into each of these medias and I'm going to show you different techniques, examples. I may even bring some guest artists in to show you their styles and techniques and what they do. Now, don't compare yourself to them. Rather, use them for an inspiration. All right, let's move on. Okay, so now, first of all, what I'm going to show you is I'm going to basically show you the two styles of paper, the picture planes, if you will, that we utilize. The first one we have here is going to be illustration board. And illustration board this is a cold press illustration board, and it's a tougher board. You can really press down on this paper, and it's not going to wrinkle and ripple. It's got a strong form to it. All right, so I'm going to start off utilizing the primary colors, and I'm going to first start off with a yellow. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to first, you're not going to be able to see much of this because the value is so light to the white. Okay, but there, you can see the yellow which is on here. Okay, so the yellow here that I'm utilizing is there. Now I'm making a circle because I'm going to blend these colors together bit by bit. Now this is on an illustration board. I prefer using illustration board on with color pencils because it's a lot more durable. It can work harder, or in other words, it can take a rougher push. Now, if you're going to use it in a light form, hey, I would say go ahead. You could use a drawing paper for your color pencil. But if you're really going to push down, you're going to probably want to use illustration board. Okay, the next color I'm going to use is going to be the red. So I'm going to bring that down here. And push this in. And now I'm going to overlap it onto the yellow. Pull that over. Now already you can kind of see there's the red, there's an orange, and then there's the yellow, as it's pretty much utilizing in that area there. The eye is the one that is actually blending those colors together. It's kind of like the old-fashioned newsprints or the news style that they used in printing. I think I went over this in one of our other episodes. When they lay these colors down, which is in a 4-color process, they take black, yellow, cyan, and magenta. We use a red. And those 4 will get you every single color in the spectrum. And what happens is that there's tiny little dots. And actually, this is in newspapers. This is the way that it was done in your old classic comic books as well. And the dots are laid next to each other. So depending on the size of the dot, will adjust the size of the color that your eye is going to see. For instance, if you're trying to create a deeper orange, the dot is going to be a little less with the orange, with the yellow, and then it's going to be a little brighter with the red. Now, if they want to darken that, they're going to bring a touch of blue dot over the size of that. So as you pull away from that, your eye is tricked, and it's thinking it's seeing a color that really isn't there. It's just all these other colors put together. And that's what we're doing here. We're doing the same thing here by mixing these here. Now, we can also take these and blend them together and create something even darker, and that will create a more cohesive color. All right, so I'm going to do the next one, and that's going to be blue. Let's see. Oh, that's my black. It's my indigo blue. Now I'm going to come over here and lay this down. And there we go. Now, we can see now I have all 3 colors here. I have my blue, there's my green, there's my purple, there's my red, there's my yellow. And these are all done relatively light, and you can see how they all work together. These colors are utilized in a way where, like I said, the eye is being tricked into thinking they're seeing those colors, but they're just colors laid over on top of each other. That is one way you can use color pencil. It creates kind of a dreamy effect. It kind of creates this almost mythical effect on that, if you will. So, but let's say you want to go a little darker. All right, well, let's go to the next step. That next step is we're going to start off with the yellow. The reason I'm going to start off with the yellow is because it's the lightest color or the lightest value out of all of these colors. Now, hear me out. You don't necessarily have to start that way. But think of it this way. If you start off with the blue and you press really hard, it's going to be really hard for that yellow to adhere to the blue. Remember, you're talking dry media. So I would always suggest go from lighter to darker. It's going to be much easier as opposed to going from darker to lighter, especially if you're pressing hard. All right, so here we go. Now, and this is where you have to be careful, because the harder you push, the more chance you have of breaking your pigment. Now, when I'm pressing hard, I usually take my pencil from the side that I went here to going straight vertical, like this. Now, you might ask yourself, or you might be asking, how do I sharpen my pencils? Well, you could use a pencil sharpener, or you could go back to the X-Acto knife. I use the pencil sharpener because I find that it's just sharp enough for me to utilize to get that edge. Now, if you're really trying to get that really fine edge, you're going to want to go with an X-Acto knife. But also keep in mind this: it doesn't take much to snap that lead or snap that tip. And if you're doing that, then oops, you're going to be finding that you know what I'm saying. Okay. All right, so now I'm going to go with the red because it's the second darkest value, or second lightest. And that's going to go here. And this red is more of an orange. So the darker your red is, the better color you're going to get. Okay, now what I'm doing here is I'm pushing this red really dark. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to overlay this Now I'm going to come back with my yellow, and then I'm going to push that yellow and then blend that red to make it more of a more predominant orange. There we go. Now you have to be careful, because if you press too hard, or you have to kind of get used to this, you can actually pick up that red and it actually wipes it out. The yellow will. And there you go. Red, orange, yellow. And you can see how that works here. It's working the same way here, but now we actually have the pigment of the orange. All right, and then finally, I'm going to come in and I'm going to bring in my indigo blue. And that's going to come here. That's a really dark blue. Notice that I didn't just come over the edge like I did here. I'm kind of stopping here to show the blue. And then what I'm going to do is I'm not going to push this color right to where it's dark as everything else. I'm going to start blending these colors, okay? So come in here, and I'm going to start blending this. And you can already see the green coming up here, and the purple. Now, come back over here with the red. Add a little more red to this. That's going to give you more of a purple. I'm going to come over here and take the yellow, push this over, and blend that in with my yellow. And now I've got all three colors here, which is my neutral. I'm going to push them equally. So I get a neutral black. There we go. Green, orange, purple. There's my neutral black. Now, and then of course you have your primary colors here. If I want, I can now take my black color pencil, add just a touch of this. So I don't have to, I'm not depending completely on my black. I'm just kicking that up a little bit to neutralize that color a bit more. And then I'm going to take the blue. And the reason I take the blue because that's the closest value to black. And there. You see how this all works together. You can see using light, using dark here on these. Now this is using illustration board. Can we do the same thing with our color or with our drawing paper? Yes, you can. Well, so let's give it a shot and see how that works. All right, this time we're going to go with the secondary colors. And I'm going to do the stripes as I showed you prior to that in the sample here. All right, so I'm going to go with the purple, and I'm going to start off with the stripe here. And I'm going to start off really light. And bring my color down. So I have a nice even gradation. Now, as you can see, it's a little light here, so I'm going to knock that out. It gets right in here. There's a lighter, so I'm going to pull this in a lighter gradation. So there you go. Close that up. Close that up. Close this up. And I'm going to fade this out a little bit more. So I have a nice gradation. And this is a great practice to be able to work with your gradations in your colors. Okay, so that's not bad. It's not like perfection, but it's pretty decent. And then I want to push really hard down here. All right, so now I'm going to come back with my orange. And again, I'm going to start off light. And I'm going to try and keep the value of this to here. My orange and my purple. It's a lot more difficult than what it seems. And already I got a little too dark here. I can start pulling this, getting it a little. Remember, it's always easier to go from light to dark, but it's much harder to go back from dark to light. Especially if you're trying to match a gradation. Now, for you who are going off into college, your 101 classes, you may have professors who may have you do this exercise. If you're in my class, you'd be doing this exercise. There we go. And you can see the gradation here and here. They almost match. I'm going to have to pull this up a little bit. There we go. And that looks pretty close. Each color and value. There we go. And then finally, I'm going with the green. And again, I'm going to go light. And then gradually go darker. But I'm going to push. I automatically know this is the hardest, deepest color I'm going to push. So now I can come back up and I can darken this. Again, remember, better to go darker, better to go light and then come back to darker than reverse that. It's going to be a real bear. Okay. All right, these are my secondary colors. Okay, so now, as I did earlier, or as I showed you in the example earlier, now I'm going to do is I'm going to take the complementary colors to these colors, and I'm going to neutralize those colors. So, purple, we're going to take the yellow. And I'm going to start down here. And I'm going to push this up. And there we go. We're pushing this up. And I'm not going to come too far up because I want to keep some of my purple, the pure pigment of purple. But I'm going to come down here and push this out. And I'm going to stop there. Here we go. And that's neutralized. You can see how much darker it is. Look at that. And it's gotten pretty dark right in here as compared to what you had before. All right, now we got the orange. And what's that? What's the complement to orange? Come on, people. Remember. Blue. Exactly. All right, so now I'm going to take my blue and I'm going to push this up. Now, I am not going to push as far up because the value of this is so much darker. I don't want all my orange to get swallowed up. I'm going to gradually pull this up. Fade this up just like this. There we go. Now the color values between these two are very, very close. And I'll pull this right up here. Okay, there you go. And finally, the red. And we're going to pull this up to here. All right, so let's say I really want, now see how this is, the red is really swallowing this up, so you can see it's predominantly red. Okay, I can come back with my green, which I'm going to do right now. And I'm going to push that a little, where's my green? Here it is. And push this up. Now, why is it that this green is not turning as dark as these other two colors? All right, well, I'm going to explain. It's more of a brown now. Look at that. And I'm going to come back with the red, the orange, I should say, and push this on top of here to get more of a neutral colored. There we go. And then I'm going to come back with my indigo blue and push this up. Oh, excuse me, wait, purple. Well, if I use the indigo blue, it's a split complementary, so it's going to darken that up. But we want to use the colors that we're utilizing here. All right, there we go. Now, look at this. We can see that it's not a black as we know a black. Why is that? We talked about this. Come on, think. Go back. Go back to what I said when we were first talking at the beginning of the season about color theory. And I said, just because you're using a blue or a red or a green or a purple doesn't mean you're going to get that dark green or that dark black that you're looking for. Why? Because it depends on what kind of color you're using. If you're going to use a light green, which I used here, I put my red on top of that, which is more of an orange. It's not going to fade into a deep dark black like these two here have. You see what I'm saying? And this is a perfect example of not utilizing the right base colors. So if you're going to use your primary colors and secondary colors. Use the darker colors. That's going to give you a deeper, richer color. All right, so now I'm going to bring my white in. And I'm going to, now this is kind of a gray color. It's kind of an off-white. And then I'm going to blend that to lighten this up. And I'm going to do the same thing here. And I'm going to do the same thing here. And what I've done now is I've softened that color by blending it using the white. By pushing this down. And utilizing the white to lighten up these colors. Okay, now in between those colors I can basically change colors. Like for instance, if I want to take this blue here, or excuse me, the green, and I want to take my blue, I can darken this green up, and just by adding a lighter, just rubbing it slightly, I added a little bit of blue, and I've darkened my green. Ooh, magic. Now, if I really want to blend that, I bring that green that I originally used, add on top of that. And now I've darkened my green. So you can push and pull these colors any way you want, and you can get those colors that you're trying to achieve. It takes a little practice to work with, and that's what this whole exercise is. It's an exercise to being able to utilize colors, being able to use the color pencil and blend these colors by not using any kind of liquid such as turpentine, or water, as we would in watercolor, or as we would in acrylic, or any of those areas whatsoever. Okay, so again, these are just samples of how to practice working with your color pencils. What do I suggest? Well, I'm going to suggest that if you buy a set of color pencils, go with the Prismacolor Premier. They're affordable. I wouldn't go with the higher end pencils unless you're really serious about getting started and really working with that. Prismacolor are going to be your best high quality pencils to start off with, and start off with a smaller pack. Remember, this is just the exercise. You might start off with a pencil set of 24, and in some cases they used to come individual. I don't think you can find them anymore in individual. They're mostly in packs. Probably wouldn't go with a 9 pack, but I would go with a definitely a 24, maybe even a 12. Play around with the colors, push, pull those colors, utilize all those colors, and eventually just start practicing on maybe using a sphere, using the cube, using the cone. And go back to what we did on the first season, and we talked about just reflective colors and trying to play around with them, because next season we're going to be talking about technique and showing how to create stuff utilizing different types of techniques. Okay, as always, this is going to end this episode. May the Lord be with you always and always protect you. Next episode, we're going to be talking about pastels. Oil pastels, soft pastels, and how I use them, or how they can be used. The soft pastels are very chalky. Oil pastels are very messy and sticky. And you can, just like the watercolor pencils, with oil pastels, you can add a little bit of turpenoid and actually cause that to drip and do that. But remember, you're on paper, so it's going to be a little difficult. You can also use a velvet type of paper that you could use your pastels on. And it creates a very soft, blurred underwater feel to that. If I can find some, I'm going to bring some in. Okay, well, you take care, and we will see you on that next episode. And again, I am now working on Brookfield Middle School, and they're doing Music Man. So I'm going to kind of show you what I'm working with on that one. So just remember, hit that like button, subscribe, hit that bell, so you'll know when, because right now I'm not going on every week. Sometimes I'm going as far as like 3 weeks because I have stuff I have to do. And on top of that, I had a shoulder injury. Turns out I have what they call a ruptured bicep. It's a fancy word for my tendon has torn. So I'm letting that heal up. I'm not swimming anymore, but I have to get a lot of other projects done as well. So, okay, you take care, and we will see you on the next episode of Aritfax.
Pantarabamba!